the button. Hey, it says we're live.
Hey. Wow. Hello. Welcome on into another Monday Live with the Whiskey Crusaders. I'm Will.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Pat.
Today we're joined by Amanda, who is representing the Virginia Distilling Company, and we're going to be drinking through, quite a few of their whiskeys and talking about how they're made and where you can get your hands on them and all those sort of fun things. Mm-hmm. Matt, you want to talk about who's in the chat real quick before we turn it over to Amanda?
Let's see what cool ad we get tonight. That's my favorite thing. What ad are we going to get?
I forgot to do that.
Let's see what ad we get. Ooh, we got to start a YouTube questionnaire, whether we've heard of Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, or Monster. I've heard of all of them, so we'll submit our survey.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
In fact, all of those things are real things. We know
they are.
So we got StreamYard.
You got that. So we got Donner Pass. We got Craig. Then we got Eric Court. We got Scott Moody. Let's see who else. We got Bill's in here. My brother Dan's in here. Spencer Mav. All right. That's what it shows up so far at the moment. But, thing likes to play catch up. All right. So this is Amanda here with Virginia Single. She was here for the American Single Malt night. And we had such a great time. We invited her back to talk all about Virginia this night and try a bunch of their different expressions. So we're excited. So, Amanda, can you tell us a little about yourself and the history of it and get into drinking some amazing American single malts and some blends of Scotch and American single malt?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have been distilling and aging our whiskey since 2015, which is when I came on board at the distillery. I started out running the guest experience program and quickly morphed into education. And from there, whiskey takes some time to age up. So I was growing my knowledge along with the barrels. And by the time we were ready to start selecting casks for our first blends, I had been transitioning more into the sensory side of things. So I trained with some of the most incredible men and women in the industry, from Nancy Fraley to Harry Coburn, Jim Swan, Andrew Shan. So it's been a lot of fun learning along the way and watching the whiskey come to be. So I'm excited because we're doing a great roll through tonight of all my favorite whiskeys that I've done. So
That's even better.
Yeah,
we try to get a hold of everything we can for a lineup. So I think we were pretty successful getting most of the stuff, at least everything we get in Texas. The stuff I looked on your website. There's some that sounded really awesome. You made like 200 bottles of them. Like, well, we don't have those. Sorry. So
I gotta say, I love these tiny little things.
aren't they cute?
Yeah, they're some of the best looking. Especially the fact that they're full size mini bottles. They just look cool.
Yeah, I really do like them.
Can't really go wrong with that.
I like tiny things
like a little mini baseball bat.
Right?
They're pretty sturdy. I've dropped a couple of them on cement floors and they not a dent. I know.
Yeah, you've had some heck of teachers there, that's for sure. That's quite an impressive list to learn underneath. That's for certain.
I didn't realize how lucky I was.
Very. Maybe more. Eric, how's it going? Good to see you guys. So I guess let's pour some whiskey in our glass, then we'll go into a little bit of like what got you into, distilling and all that, and where you're from specifically.
Right. I'm from all over. I was born in Virginia, but moved to Texas when I was 3. So I grew up on the outskirts of Fort Worth / Dallas and loved it. Piggybacked to New York and then back to Virginia for college. And Virginia's my home now, but I try to get to Texas at least 2 or 3 times a year. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because I know last time you were here, lucky enough, Mark was able to bring you around over to Mirage. So, but next time you're in town, I'll have you over here.
I would love that. That was literally, I got off the plane and he was like, hey, this is where we're going. So I hadn't even had a drink of water, nothing, just it was fun.
Okay, twist my arm.
Do a girl pick right now.
Go to the liquor store.
Can we make Matt big? What are we drinking on first, Matt?
First thing we're going to start with, and then we'll let Amanda tell us. This is the Virginia Distilling. This is the Cider Cask. This is the first one we're going to start with. This is a combination of American Single Malt and Scotch. And I'll let Amanda tell us a little more of what exactly this is and how this product came about.
Yeah. So when we were getting started, we knew we wanted to get people talking about who we were and what direction we were going. Okay. So we knew barley. That's all we wanted to work with, 100% malted barley. We were all about making single malt, and that's all we've ever distilled. So because we had mentors that had spent decades and decades in the Scotch whiskey world, we had a couple good connections. So we brought over whiskey that had already been aging for a minimum of 6 years. Most of it's 12 and older. They just sent us samples. We said, yep, we like it. We'll use it. And we put our younger whiskey with it. And then instead of just bottling it and selling it, we moved it into a second cask to really integrate the two whiskeys, finish, develop that complexity, and then bottle it. So we thought, well, how do we really tell the Virginia story? So you'll see there's a split V on that logo with 10 little spikelets of barley in the middle. It's whiskey distilled and aged in the old world, meaning whiskey distilled and aged in the new. Virginia is the 10th state, so there are 10 spikelets on the barley, and we finish for at least 10 months before bottling.
That's cool.
I know, we're geeky.
Wow, I like that. Yeah, so everybody can see that. What she's
So-
talking about. That's really cool.
And we get even geekier because when we're done with our used casks, we give them away to local breweries, wineries, cideries, and Virginia is just full of so many good cideries. And Laird's, you're familiar with the apple brandy, their distillery is right on my way to work every day.
Yeah.
So we've gotten hundreds of barrels from them. And their distillery license #1 in the whole US. So as you can imagine, I'm ecstatic about that history.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Otter Cider in Charlottesville, Buskey Cider in Richmond. It's just been great to work with it. So if you're nosing this whiskey, I can't wait to hear your thoughts, but it's the most fascinating thing. When I nose it, I get more green apple, green pear, honeysuckle, little toasted pecan, but on the palate, that's where the baked apple and cinnamon comes in for me.
I wrote a lot of apple in that, like you said, the green apple, and a little bit of that tartness that comes with the green apple. And I like that a lot, how it brings that through a lot. What?
I got like a green apple pie on the
I
actual.
got-
on the
Speaking
palate.
Yeah,
of
I also like a Jolly Rancher, the apple, the apple
There
Jolly
you go.
Rancher.
Yeah.
And
There's
that
a-
cider cask. Oh my gosh, that cider is wild. It smells like this. So I assume the cider is also really good.
Yes.
They can have this with the cider. Sounds like it'd be awesome.
Yeah, they will age their cider in our whiskey barrels. So they have some incredible ciders coming out that, have the whiskey influence. So we have some casks that we've now traded back and forth 7 times.
Dang.
So one day they'll be spent, but as long as we're getting really gorgeous flavors and the
That's
barrels are in
awesome.
great condition.
Heck
Yeah, I know.
That's a heck of a way to reuse a barrel. That's great.
I know. This was
And
one
when
that,
you're done, just send it to Canada. They'll use it.
no
Right?
kidding. Yeah.
They'll use it until it falls apart.
That's right.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
I do too. There's a little bit of a brininess to it.
Mm.
I almost want to call it like a mushroom earthiness as well.
Mommy.
I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy. It's not down the path of peat, but it's down the path of just that earthy mushroom
A
fungal.
little salty.
Yeah, and that salty briny. You get that coastal influence almost.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
And what's-
liking the way we started on that
What's
one.
the proof on this? 46?
92. But yeah, 46 proof.
I like it.
Speaking
They're
of
all
that,
92 proof.
Yeah.
except
where
Where
exactly in Virginia are you guys anyway?
well.
Just compared to like the ocean and all that stuff.
Yeah, we're in a tiny one stoplight town called Lovingston between Charlottesville, Virginia, and Lynchburg. So we're about
Okay.
3.5 hours from the coast.
Okay, so you're nowhere near the coast. Okay.
No, but that note you're picking up, which is really interesting, I would attribute that more to the distillate from Scotland than what we're getting. Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what I was
nice.
thinking.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
almost like picking up. I wanted to call it a Campbelltown funkiness, but I was too afraid to throw that out there. But I'm picking up
It's
like
got a lot of salinity though.
that salty, briny, but also just that Campbelltown kind of funk that I love. And it's very heavy on the malts, very heavy on the granolas. I don't want to call it nutty, but it's very heavy into the granola notes.
Well, and that might be a tribute to like what you would think maybe a pie crust, or
Mhm.
you said it tastes like apple pie with the
Yeah.
apple and
Mhm.
the cinnamon, and
Yeah.
the whole thing incorporated. And then a lot of people actually put like sea salt on top of their apple pies, so there's your salt.
Mhm.
Got the whole pie in the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would pair it with an apple pie, vanilla ice cream, or more like cheddar cheese, savory notes too, just to kind of balance.
I was thinking apple cinnamon oatmeal.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Baked brie and puff pastry with some Granny Smith apples and
Some
honey
apple
drizzle on
pastries in
top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still going. That's quite impressive.
Yeah. The finish is nice for 46.
hmm
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's got a lot of nice spice to it as well.
That's why I asked, because it drinks higher
Mhm.
to me.
Yeah. Closer to a 50 as far as flavor and amount of viscosity it has
And
to
the
it.
finish, and
Mhm.
I likes it.
Yay.
Yeah,
It'll
Quite
be
good.
fun to compare that with the Port Cask Finish because
How long ago did you get this one, Matt?
I've had it a few months.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly when. I don't know. Sometime I think the first time I met Mark. Oh, I know when I got. Yeah, it was when Goody opened in Bedford, that's when I got that one.
Okay. So that's still gettable.
Like 6 months ago.
Yeah, Goody hasn't been open for a long time.
Yeah, I think
Right
Mirage has them too, though. I think Mirage carries everything because Goody doesn't carry everything. Mirage has all their products, so Virginia.
Nice.
Good to know.
So if anybody's local, if you want to get all at one time, go see William. He has all of them.
We'd rather shop with William than
And
Goody.
plus, that's his store pick too. So
Yeah.
which is the one I'll pick. So it works out good.
Nice.
We got Spencer Mav hungry over there. It is pie day. Go get yourself some pie.
Different kind of
We're moving
pie.
on to, you said the Port Cask next, Matt?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
That was another one of the little samples you gave me, right?
Yes.
Drink dried.
also 92 proof. And this one, we use the same story, whiskey distilled and aged in Scotland, our whiskey roughly 50-50.
Okay.
Put it together, move it into true port casks from Portugal. So we use a lot of tawny ports, but we also find some really unique Virginia wineries doing port style dessert wines.
Okay.
So we can trade casks with them, keep it very sustainable, and show off the local side there too.
So is it the same Scotch in both, or different distilleries that the Scotch is from?
Same.
Ooh.
At this
Okay.
time, same. Yeah.
Smells the same. It
That-
smell that.
Making sure I'm not crazy. I'm going, I think it's the same place, but make sure I'm not crazy.
Yeah, but instead of an apple pie, it's a berry pie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Blackberries and blueberries, rhubarb.
Like chocolate
Yes.
drizzled all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, there are lots of cool Philly bits. There's no doubt about that. They have a very nice label, and plus on this, I'll show you on the other ones here. You can take off the little metal coin. There's all sorts of cool stuff.
I like
They did
Philly
not
bits.
stop with the amazing Philly bits. That's for sure.
Matt's all about a sexy bottle. So
I am. I do like a sexy bottle. There's nothing
Just
better. I mean,
sexy
if you're going to display it, it better look sexy. There's nothing more than a boring bottle.
It's true. I'm one of those people who totally judges books by their covers and whiskey by their
Absolutely.
bottles too, because it's part of the story. It better stand up on the inside too. I will still, that's what really matters the most. But so this one, we released it first in 2015, and it won World Whiskey Awards Best in Category, and we've got gold for it every year since.
That's awesome.
Wow, the berry explosion is phenomenal. Same granola finish, but wow, it just switched gears from like that apple. Sorry, it switched gears from like that apple to just pounds and pounds of berries.
Yeah, it's like macerated berries that have been, just completely in the juice and everything crushed together. It smells awesome. I bet, that ports, were amazing too that you guys used from that.
Yes,
I would love getting the product that it came from, then drinking them together. That's always
Yes.
really fun.
I totally do that fairly frequently whenever
Well,
I
yeah.
can.
We're just gonna have to make a trip to Virginia.
Please do. I would love that. Say when.
Are you able to tell us what ports, like what brand the ports are of, or not?
Yeah, we work with J. Diaz very exclusively in Portugal, and then for
Okay.
Virginia, I really enjoyed working with King Family. They're in Crozet, Virginia, and they do a 7 port style.
wow.
Yeah, I really like that. Veritas has been a phenomenal
good.
partner. They do an Othello port style wine.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
rich and deep. And,
Whoa.
yeah, I can see
I
why.
assume
why
the
it's
Scotch
so
distillery
old.
says no, you can't tell, because
We don't
It's
want people focused on that. We want the freedom to, if we want to switch between different distilleries or do our own thing entirely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice
Hey,
to
Jason.
have freedom there.
definitely, it can definitely tell it's the same backbone distillery. It's really good.
Hey,
This
Jason,
reminds me a lot of this port one of the Kilkerran Sherry Cask that I've had recently. Honestly, a lot of that. This is really good.
Do you have a number on those bottles? I'm guessing your VHW one is a batch 15 or 16. Oh yeah, they're round circles. Keep turning.
Keep turning.
There you go.
Batch 4 on the cider,
That's an old one. Okay.
and the port is batch 14.
14. Gotcha. Okay. So I can tell you that batch 14 is very close to 50% our distillate and the distillate from Scotland. Both of them were aged entirely in used bourbon casks before they or
Okay.
married together to go into the port casks.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That tells you just how much port influence is on here. Then that's pretty wild.
Right.
Yeah, it's that Virginia climate. You extract so much, and a lot of those casks were finishing for about a year and a half, much more than 10 months.
And I like to ask everybody who uses casks, from other countries, whatnot. When you get them, how dry are they? Are they fully dried, or there's still a little bit of moisture in there?
Yeah,
Are they assembled? Are they disassembled?
always assembled.
Okay.
And we keep them wrapped so they're in good condition, and they have to have a decent amount of liquid inside them.
Okay.
Jim Swan said ideally it would be 18% liquid, which is pretty rare to ask for that much.
Wow.
But it really helps because you want those staves hydrated, and it's a great way to be able to know the quality of what was in there when you get it and do the final dump before you fill it.
Wow.
So never dry, never disassembled.
Good to know.
Good to know.
Yeah,
And-
we got a
and-
couple other whiskey too. We got DJ11. Check out his channel. We got Kilkos. Check out his channel as well. I know our buddy Jason Boosie's in here. This is
Of
one. If
course.
you haven't tried it, Jason, you'll really like this one. I know you're a big fan of the Scotch, so this American Single Malt is
Jason,
amazing.
haven't seen Jason in a while.
Yeah, I think
How
he
you doing
came in
there,
at a good
stranger?
time. Should definitely pick these up.
So when you get these barrels, how long after you actually dump what's in it before you put the whiskey in? Like, is there a chance that there's a little bit left in there, or do you guys let it sit for a day to, get any of that extra so you're not actually putting the port in it?
Right. So when we get these casks, we try to dump and fill immediately. So we want to make sure they're very fresh. So we're able to do our quick QC, and we can nose inside the barrel. Like, we'll just stick our heads over the
I would too.
bottle. Yeah.
I like this question. DJ wants to know: do you get to taste 80% was in there?
Never that much. By the time we get it, it's less than that. In the shipping and everything, it's less for sure. But the staves are thankfully still very hydrated.
Okay.
And you can still fill up a couple glasses for sure.
Right.
And yes, there's often some tasting.
That's all.
Can't say I blame you there.
As there should be.
I mean, it's like you said, it's quality control. It's very important.
It is.
Right.
It is. Especially if you're working with sherry, because we can say we don't want anything sulfured, but just as a safety thing, you should be checking and know.
Makes completely sense. That's
Well, this one is as delicious. Matt, what's my price point so far on these two?
they weren't bad. It was like, I'm trying to think what they were.
50?
They were 50. I'm pretty sure those are about 50 each, from what I remember.
Okay. I'm not.
I know the other convictions are more expensive than these, but I think these are both about 50. I think this one might have been 45. I think this one was 50. They were very, very reasonable.
Same ABV, 46.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sad about that purchase of 50.
Nope.
It's got a lot of nice flavor to it.
Especially now it's been open for a while, letting it open up and oxidize over the last several months. It's opened up really nice.
I find it a lot with the finished in wine finishes that you have to let them open for a little bit to get the full effect.
Yes, you're so right. I wish everybody knew that.
Oh yeah, we don't even like to review stuff that hasn't been open for a few months because it doesn't taste right. Fresh cracks are never to me a proper way to taste the whiskey.
Yeah, I like to open it and take that first drink and see what it is, and then come back to it in a couple months and just explore how it's changed.
Yeah, and I'll pour my whiskey into a glass and let it sit for hours before I'm done analyzing it. I might put a lid on it, but I will,
right?
Yeah, you have to.
Absolutely. Do you know if you guys have distribution in Oklahoma at all, by chance?
Ooh, I think we do. I know on our website there's a whiskey finder, so you can pull in the zip code and see what's around it.
Speaking of lids for your Glencairns, you can order these really wonderful challenge coins from us.
I love it.
Send us an email, whiskeycrusaders3@gmail.com. Ship you out some challenge coins. Nice little way to cover up your Glencairn in between sips.
And get hungry.
They're
every once in a
reversible.
while. And think about bacon.
That's right.
I got to get on the next one. Matt disappeared. Where'd he go?
I didn't get more glasses. I didn't want to dump anything out and combine them yet till the end.
Ah,
Yeah, I've already started my dump glass here. I
Cohen.
like to make a
Anybody to
mix
compare
of everything
anything.
that we've had for and see how that tastes. Because why not? It's whiskey. It's meant to be enjoyed and had fun with.
Cohen's been getting some mad deals.
He apparently
last week
has
was post-
quite the deals
posting
there.
Deals about Irish whiskey deals that he got. He got a JP Weiser blend for $3.14 for Pie Day.
That's
The
crazy.
very old Barton 100 for $8 a few
What
days
a
ago.
deal.
Like, seriously, man,
Wow.
share the wealth.
DJ11, the answer is yes to that about your Middleton Rare Cask. That's the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not a hard
219. I'd pay
decision.
that for that one. That was
Always,
good.
yes.
Yeah,
Do
that
it.
was. I've been seeing those out and about, and I'm not pulling the trigger on a second one, but I'm really not sad about my purchase of the first one.
Thoughts on Four Roses whiskey? I've never had it before. It depends on which
Ooh.
one you can get.
They're all good. Just
They're all
varying
good in
degrees
their
of
own
good
respect.
to even
If
better.
you can afford to pull the trigger on a single barrel, though,
And if
that's
they
what
have
you
it,
want.
that's what you want.
This is true.
That's the one. They're all
They're all good.
in their own
Right.
right, but that's the one you want if you're going to go with that. Get back to
Sorry.
some American single malt, though, Matt. Which one are we pouring next? You want
All right, so now we're going to go to your product, the Courage Conviction, that is all just an American single malt.
Uh-huh.
Plus, I like you guys canisters. They like these nice, big, thick canisters. I mean, that's just nice.
Well, I mean,
I like
yeah.
that.
Even these little samples come
Oh,
in
nice.
a box.
It's just really nice
usually it's
packaging.
just, here's your bottle. Have fun, but it comes in a box. And
This
it's
is
all,
not in the 99-cent bin, though.
not
That's
in
all
the
I'm
99
saying.
cent bin. No,
You're
but-
not done.
no, I'm not done.
Well, come on. It's time to move on to the next one.
But I love that you put that in to show, hey, this is what it really looks like.
Well, not just that. I mean, you've got a nice story on the whole can. There's just a lot of information. Even on these mini ones, there's tons of information on here.
Right.
Like, there's no shortage.
Didn't
Let me show you
try it.
guys. Like there's information on all the sides here. I mean, that's almost no one does this. This is amazing.
No,
I wish more brands would do this.
you can't. I
Thank you.
mean,
And
at
it's
least
awesome.
the last time I looked at the little minis and whatnot, none of them have boxes.
No,
Unless
Is
you
that-
buy like the little sample pack of like Johnny Walker. It comes in.
I
a
don't
box.
think I have any
That's
other
like
minis in boxes, to be honest.
Huh?
I don't think I have any other minis in boxes, to be honest.
I've never come
I've
across
not-
any around here.
I've not seen it.
Greg says the canister is hell on my short shelf liquor
I
cabinet.
know.
Yeah.
We have those problems, too, sometimes.
We have one shelf that's a little taller than the rest, and
Thank
that's where all of them
goodness.
tall bottles go.
Even if it's not in the right category. That's where it's going to go. It's just the way it is.
I feel your pain too, though. Because you can imagine I have a lot of tall bottles. They're always
Yeah.
on top of things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
So tell us why Courage and Conviction. What's the story behind this brand and why?
Yeah.
you're making that?
So we're the largest independently owned American single malt producer, and we're owned by the Moore family. And George Moore was an Irish immigrant. He came over in the early 70s, got his master's degree at George Washington University, moved to California, helped integrate caller ID. And then he came back to Virginia and he said it was home. It felt like everything he loved. And he also was obsessed with single malts. Apparently he had almost 400 bottles of single malts in his collection at the height of it. But at that time, there were no American single malts being produced. So he had a saying for every occasion. And apparently one of his favorites was have the courage of your conviction. So he and a couple of friends started talking about starting their own distillery. And of course, they wanted to do single malts. And so long story short, he passed away a few years ago, but his son Gareth took over the reins. And Gareth is our CEO. His wife, Angela. Gareth's mother is our chairwoman, and she's phenomenal. And so we're just kind of making George's dream come true. And it takes years to age up whiskey. So we were waiting and waiting, and our motto was, we'll let the whiskey tell us when it's ready. And then it was feeling like everything was coming together in 2020, and yet the world was crazy. And we thought, well, do we do this? And that phrase just really resonated with us. So we decided, let's name the whiskey after him. We'll call it Courage and Conviction. Let's do this. And we got 96 points from Wine Enthusiast pretty much right out the gate. And then 91 points from Whiskey Advocate. And then the gold medals started just piling up. And we thought, oh, people like it. This is encouraging. And it's such a complex whiskey. I compare it to world whiskeys because it's not going to fall in any easy niche, but it will, exactly what you're saying, Sarah. It'll open up and evolve for hours and hours. So on the nose, you might get some light, delicate fruit and barrel spice. But if you wait, the chocolate's going to come, and that chocolate's going to evolve and richer red fruit and the ginger spice. So it's a whiskey that's meant to be a brain teaser, but enjoyable and not too intense. Just one of those things where it's checking a lot of boxes for me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got here Dustin from Top Shelf. If you want to check that there. And we got Pat from My Whiskey Den is in here. Check out his channel as well. So I had a Cooler Runnings. Good to see a bunch of new people coming in here. So I actually have two batches in front of me. I have a batch that says Nancy Fraley, and then I got the mini one. Is there any difference in them, or are those? What's the difference really?
Yeah, so sometimes we'll do a smaller bottling run and we'll just call it a batch. And we got the idea, let's name a couple of them after people who've inspired us and shown courage and conviction in their lives. So we did a George Moore batch, a Harry Coburn batch, a Jim Swan batch, a Nancy Fraley batch. And the one we're bottling this week is named after my friend Brett. You might know him as Scotch Trooper, but Brett was just
very cool.
His wife Tiffany is phenomenal. They have 2 little girls who are grown up, so we wanted to just honor his memory and yeah. So occasionally there'll be a special batch named after someone who we just connected with, and they are a little bit different. To answer your question, what I often do is retain a bit of the prior batch and then blend into it.
Okay.
More. And our whiskey is still aging, so you're going to see more and more things evolve over the next few years. There's a core DNA that's going to be very consistent, so you know what you're expecting to a good extent. But yeah, it'll be fun to collect and compare the different batches.
Oh yeah, these are definitely different. They're both really good, but definitely different.
The salty mushroom fungal is in this one as well.
Agreed.
I was thinking that was going to be what you're getting in from the Scotland. That's in this one too.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be your distillate. That's amazing.
Potentially, there is a little bit of a salinity to our new make, which we really strive for, to have that complexity in the mouthfeel, and that's in the narrow cuts we do. But also, this is whiskey that's aged in used bourbon casks, Cuvée wine casks, and sherry casks. And in that lineup of sherry casks, we do a lot of Oloroso sherry. And that I actually have some that are named umami casks. And in the Nancy Fraley batch, I picked 3 of those to go in there. So I would credit that umami notes, the little bit of mushroominess, to those Olorosos that I blended in.
Nice. That makes sense.
That does make sense. Yeah.
And see, I was thinking, like, when you were saying that, when we were muted, that it had kind of a little bit of a funk to it, and it wasn't necessarily aligning with that so much, but maybe the mushroom a little bit, but
more there's that sulfur. Yeah,
so
that's delicious.
Speaking of Nancy, we have a question here from Pat from My Whiskey Den. He wants to know how it is working with Nancy, since she loves malt and that's what you focus on.
I love talking about Nancy. So when we were getting started, because we were relatively young in the industry, we brought her in to help with the very first batches we were doing of BW. And so she came in and was so generous and kind and passionate. She's the least pretentious person ever. And she was so encouraging. And she's the reason I am lead blender today, because she pulled our CEO aside and said, hey, you should be using her as your master blender, and you need to foster her. And so Nancy has given me so many incredible experiences, and she's so geeky like I am about the barley and the different notes there. So she works with a lot of brandy, a lot of bourbons, and she checks a lot of boxes. But I think for her, the chance to I'll send her samples still just as a friend, because she doesn't do any blending for us at all anymore, but her legacy is part of who I am and what I always feel like is a good inspiration. So sometimes I'll just send her samples and she'll send some to me, and it's just so fun to hear the encouragement and the insights that she has. And the biggest impact she's made on me in my style of blending and everything is she's a huge advocate for slow reductions. So that's been something that we talked about before, and I felt like I was, putting good parameters up, and she just really encouraged, nope, you can stretch it out further. You can, do more and more things. So we now have a vatting house, at our distillery, and it's just for these slow reductions.
Wow.
Nice.
I know. So she
So
has,
is that all in barrel or out of barrel when you're reducing it?
at this point, it's out of barrel. So that's
Okay.
part of the time that while we're blending, I'm also doing my reductions every week.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it's nice. We call it landing the plane. So it can take half a year or more to slowly get down to the 92.
Wow.
But a really cool thing in Texas, it's the opposite. You've got a lot of distilleries in Texas where they'll add water into the cask after, a couple months. We have so much humidity in Virginia that there is natural reduction happening in cask. So we do fill at 62.5 as our entry proof. But the average ABV we're seeing after 4 years or 5 years is already 59.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have another
Very
report from one of our longtime fans.
I was just gonna say that
Oh, yeah, Eric's question.
We love Nancy, and she's like my spirit animal, and I want to be her.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to spend some time with Nancy in person and on the show, and she's been amazing. Have loved pretty much every distillery she's worked with as well, and had some really awesome stuff from them as well. So the first time we ever got to try anything from you guys was actually with Nancy on the show. She sent us one of the blends she did with you guys from early on.
Yeah, we've had her on here, and then I've had her over on my Ladies Night stream that I do with every last Sunday of the month, and she's just good people, and it's just one of those, let's just sit and nerd out for a while, and I can just listen to you talk for hours and learn all the things. I want to be here when I grow up.
All right, so Eric wants to know is where do you get your barrels from? And are they all bourbon, or is there some rye in there as well?
Eight, they're all bourbon. They're all bourbon.
So, no rye casks. We work almost for the roughly half of our whiskeys, use bourbon casks, and most of them are Brown Forman. There are some exceptions, so we've got some Willet casks. They are all bourbon. Some might be a little bit more rye high, but for the most part, so pretty straightforward there. And one stayed over from Kentucky, so it's another thing I love. Everything is very fresh, high quality. We know what we're getting, and it's a very quick turnaround from them dumping their barrels and us filling them.
So do you get those wetted all as well, the bourbon ones? You do? Okay.
Oh, yeah. We can get them in just a couple of days after they've been dumped. So they'll call and say, hey, we're dumping today and tomorrow. We'll have them loaded up and headed your way this week.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's cool.
I know. And it's so green. I mean, back in the day, they were taking them apart to ship across the Atlantic. Now they're mostly keeping them together, but it's still months now.
Yep.
Craig says, do you need a brown house? I'll travel for whiskey.
Hired.
I can't say enough how much fun that is.
Well, Craig, I do know Mark, and if you're really interested, I'm sure you can call Mark and ask him if they're hiring. I have no idea the answer to your question, but from the what he's telling me, they need help.
It's true. We're hiring so many attachés. They're like our whiskey ambassadors in Texas to do tastings and things. So Mark would be your guy.
What are we moving on to, Matt?
Well, we can. Which should we go to? I guess the bourbon cask would make.
We were talking about it. So it's the green box or the green tin, depending on what you have. And this is a fun one because now it's like you're dissecting the cake. So you just had our single malt that is aged in 3 different types of barrels. Now we're gonna just kind of refresh our palates and go for the lightest and brightest, although it's still 92 proof.
Just grab the super chat real quick. Hey, give me the sword and shield, please.
Matt, this is back to one of the ones that you bottled for me? No.
No, this one will be in it's that green box that says bourbon on it.
Oh, bourbon. Okay.
He's already taken them out of the box.
Taken out of the box. But I found the one that says bourbon cask.
Okay, you're good. Yes. Thanks, Eric. Love chilling here. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
We appreciate all of you chilling here on a Monday night.
And Donald's back because the links start dropping. Welcome, Donald's. Thank you for always dropping our links.
Keeping up with all of our shenanigans.
Discord. If you're not part of the Whiscord, you should be.
Yeah,
it's
Ben
like
Demon
advertisements for Bill.
Yeah, I saw Pinch Hitter in here earlier too. If you guys haven't checked out Pinch Hitter's channel, check out his too. And that's Jim's channel. All right, so let's open up this one. I like that they're different colors too. That makes it much easier on the shelf to find them. It makes it super easy. It's like, oh, good. Now I know what I'm getting. All right.
Ooh,
The green one.
Donald's the link daddy. He's the Irish whiskey link daddy.
Yeah, Irish whiskey link daddy.
He is the man of the links. Well, Steve A too when he's in here, but he must be working.
Ooh.
And so you were saying that this is finished.
Apple like crazy.
So this is all primary maturation in used bourbon casks.
Okay.
And what I love about this is, by law, bourbon has to age in new oak. So we've got a minimum of 4 years that we say we want all the whiskey to have been in there for at least 4 years before we get the casks.
Okay.
So many of the tannins have already been taken away that this is such a gentle aging experience. When I'm walking through our fermentation tanks and breathing in deeply, I get a lot of banana nut bread, a little bit of apricots. Those are notes that orange oil, it comes through. It's not masked by the more tannic new oak. And I love that. And so it's a way to kind of see the gentle side of whiskey, I guess. But there is a nice backbone hiding underneath with the cinnamon. And, well, I'll let you guys tell me what you're getting.
Well, I'm getting into those heavy tree fruits that I get in Old Irish, that like those mango papaya notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are like my favorite things to find in whiskey. And this isn't all the way down the path of those, but it feels like it's like peeking its head towards those. It's like a head fake into those notes.
It's got a really beautiful oiliness to it coming off the nose.
Oh yeah.
It does.
It smells very rich.
Apple, almost like a linseed oil that you just brush down into a cloth.
Mm.
And then what do you call it? Cleaned up your apple with it, basically. Shined it. Oh, it smells
Shined
so
it.
good. It's a shiny apple.
Most people just, rub it on their shirt mat.
I know. It's fancy.
He was painting a whole picture. I liked it.
None of the sulfur notes that we had in the last one.
None of that umami, the salt.
But that solidity is still there that's been a steady fingerprint in each of them, though.
Yeah.
So so it's your distillate. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
A little peach in the back.
Yes. I love that.
There's a lot going on in this glass.
I'll let these sit out for some time, and because these are fresh crack on these little minis always tonight. So
it will open up. Yeah. It's probably the hardest to make this one. Well, that and the sherry, because you have to look for just the right casks to blend them together to get the complexity you're going for. And they are so delicate. It's a fun challenge.
How many casks usually go into each of these that are just the bourbon or just the Cuvier, just the sherries?
Yeah. So the very first batch we did of Courage and Conviction, the blue tin, the flagship, it was our smallest by far. It was only 37 casks, and it was 21 used bourbon casks, 10 Cuvée casks, and 6 sherry. It was 2 Fino, 2 Oloroso, and 2 PX sherries together.
Oh, wow. Okay, so really small. Okay.
Yeah, very small. We have more than quadrupled for every batch since then. So it's significantly more. And I want to do more and more of that Solera style of never emptying out a batch.
What's the
46?
46?
So your vat that you're using, is that a Solera vat that you're currently using then?
No, we have stainless steel tanks that
Steel tanks. Okay.
Here's some fun trivia. When we started out, we didn't have big enough space because we have 2 bulk spirit receivers or spirit vats to new make in, get it to 62.5, fill the casks. And then we have a series of fermentation tanks that are over 10,000 liters each, and that was exactly the size we needed. So I hijacked 5 of those tanks to use until the vatting house was built. And it was whiskey musical chairs. It was perfect space. Everything was just right. And
hey,
now we're the vatting house, and it's a little different.
Okay.
Yes, the distillers are much happier to have the space.
I would imagine so.
I'm picking up a lot of those leftover bourbon notes in here. I got the cinnamon, the brown sugar going on, but then that fruit that comes through is just it. You don't really get the peach and the apricot type of flavors in bourbon very much. So
they're very much here.
I like that. I'm sorry?
They're very much
here. Very much there. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of like a peach Bellini too.
Even
the effervescence of it, it's just that's a really nice heavy. This would probably actually make an amazing cocktail as well with this bourbon.
You say the effervescence of it. It's very light and almost like shiny feeling, but it's still very rich, and the finish is just, it goes on for a while.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's
really
very
good.
champagne-y on the
Very champagne-y.
on the palate.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I'll often tell people start with this one because it is
Yeah.
the
Makes sense.
brightest and work down
Totally
to the
makes sense.
more relaxed.
Especially if you're like a bourbon drinker that's trying to get into malt.
Yes.
Agreed.
This is the entry to kind of intrigue you. I liked Eric's question about, are there future plans to experiment with new oak? I do have 5 new oak casks that are almost 5 years old. We got them from Kelvin Cooperage, and they're lovely. I don't know that it's a style that we're going to go for long term, but it's fun to play around.
Sounds like a really fun project to try those out.
Some fun blending options, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely. So DJ11 wants to know, with all the new upstarts, is it getting harder to get quality casks?
That's something we're definitely keeping our eyes on because a lot of places have been struggling. We're very fortunate to have long established relationships. We've only been around for, we've been distilling and aging for 7 years, but we were established a little bit before that. But what's helped us out is having these relationships thanks to Jim Swan. We work with the same cooperages in Spain and Portugal that he did for decades. Okay. So he wrote the emails, he introduced us, we've been maintaining those, and those are really precious relationships. So fingers crossed we're able to maintain those through any shortages, but also the local sustainable side that the VHW series focuses on really makes me happy. So I think we're checking a lot of boxes there too. And our proximity and relationship with the bourbon distilleries in Kentucky, that doesn't hurt either. So knock on all the wood, it's been working well for us. Yeah. And we give away a lot of our casks to local breweries and cideries, and we wouldn't be opposed to helping out some distilleries too in the past when they've asked. We've had a few to share.
Okay. So can you describe like the climate of like where you're at in Virginia, and then the elevation you're at as well? Because I think we haven't talked about that at all.
Yes. So our cask houses are I think they're 850 feet higher above sea level than our distillery itself.
Oh, wow. Whoa. Okay.
It's an incline.
That's
so
a big difference.
Yeah, we are in what Jim Swan called a 4-season subtropical, I tack in the word humid climate. Okay. And so we see crazy highs and crazy lows. And I know Texas, you do too. Imagine a ton more humidity, more tropical, and you're there. Last month, it happened twice. It was 75 for the high. I was wearing shorts outside, and the very next day we had over a foot of snow. So
lovely.
Flash. And so in hot weather, the staves are expanding, soaking up the whiskey. Cold weather, they're contracting and pushing back out. We see that breathing in and out multiple times, many days. It's not uncommon to see 60 to 70 degree variance in 24 hours. So a heck of a lot more color and flavor. The smallest barrels we age in are these bourbon casks. We don't do caramel coloring for our single malt. There's none of that focus. We obviously don't for any ever finishing either. It's just one of those things where we let the climate do all the heavy lifting for us. The heartbreaking side is the evaporation. So
what's your rate?
Yeah. So our first year was scary. I mean, Scotland, they expect about 2% the first year, and then cut in half to 1%. Our first year, we were averaging 6 to 8, some 12% loss. And I just thought, this is going to be really, really scary to wait very long. Thank goodness it settled down. So our average is about 3 to 5% loss.
Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah.
Much, much more doable. I still have that motto of letting the whiskey say when. And so my goal is to never let the whiskey be over oaked and lose all the nuance. And I think that the best success story for that is probably the bourbon cask, because it is such a gentle aging that I think it's going to stand up for longer than if it was in new oak. I think the Virginia climate in new oak is trickier.
Makes total sense. All right. So Eric wants to know what type of stills do you have and how many times distilled?
Copper pot stills, and we double distill everything. The stills in our Spirit Safe were made in Elgin, Scotland, and they're beautiful. And I think that the character and quality we get from the stills is really phenomenal. So very hands-on. We do the mash tun process and everything. So it's not quite like you would see on the Bourbon Trail. It's more like what you would see in Scotland.
So is it more, are they Forsyth stills, or what company are they?
Northern Fabricators.
Northern Fabricator, okay. And what's the size on them?
So the wash still, which is larger, holds just over 10,000 liters, which is 2,500 gallons.
Okay, you got a good size.
Spirit
Okay,
still
big.
is,
That's big.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big stills.
yeah.
Okay.
That'll
We
get it done.
double distill twice a day, 4 days a week,
Wow.
and the fifth day is half a cleaning day, so there's only
Okay.
one through. So we have an AM shift and a PM shift, and we're about to bring in a middle shift. So the goal is to
Dang.
keep it down for the summer, so the team stays out of the heat, because you can imagine those stills produce.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be unpleasant. For
Yeah,
sure.
so July and August they get to hang out in the cool dunnage style cask house, which we've converted to a bottling house. So the team is very excited about that. We did it last
Yeah,
year.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, and then how many warehouses are you guys? Do you have barrels in? Like approximately how many barrels are you guys have currently aging?
Yeah. So our first cask house was a dunnage style built into the hillside, and at capacity, it could only hold 600 casks.
Oh, jeez.
So we granted that one real fast. We
Wow.
have 2 metal clads up on that hill I described, and
Okay.
they are 6,000 casks each.
Oh, yeah, a lot
So,
bigger.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot bigger. And the first one is pretty full. The
Okay.
second one we still have some room to grow, but we've already done the groundwork for the third cask house to go up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Awesome. I like
What
it.
are we moving on to, Matt?
All right. Now we should move on to the sherry cask, which is this pretty red one here.
Sherry.
So we jumped from the smallest casks we age in, the 52.9 gallon used bourbon cask, to the largest. So these are 500 liter sherry casks. We use 3 different types mostly, but we've played with some 4th or 5th sherry types. Oloroso and PX, you're very familiar with. That's
Right.
the common thing. We also use Fino sherry cask.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a Jim Swan recommendation. He said with your
Okay.
climate, they're going to be late bloomers, and he was right. For the first couple of years, it was like I'm getting some sherry notes, and then it was tropical fruit, and then it was honey nut Cheerios.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Hey, you don't get a lot of that. It's always
That's
Oloroso
good.
or PX.
Oh.
they don't take Fino off those Solera systems very often. You've got
Okay.
yeah, they're on there and they're there.
They're there.
Yeah,
With that floor,
You got to get really
the
lucky.
floor grows on top of it, or I think it's called
Yeah.
a floor layer, and yeah, it just kind of is what it is.
yeah. Whereas Oloroso, none of that. There's no protective veil of use.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
One quick question before we get to this. Donald wants to know if you're using 2-row or 6-row barley or a combination of both.
Always 2-row, always
Both
spring
2-row.
barley. So the best of the
Spring barley.
best. It's
Now, is that grown in Virginia? Is that grown in Scotland, or a combination? Or where are you growing your barley at?
we've experimented with growing some on site. We are not farmers. What we've learned is the nitrogen levels in Virginia soil are crazy high, which makes for lots of protein in the barley, which is not what we want. That's great for
Okay.
like cattle feed, but not. So we work with almost 400 farmers through the North Midwest into the southern reaches of
Wow.
Canada. I know. So we're supporting the
Wow.
little guys all banded together, and it's
Okay.
really cool. So
So it's all like little local family farms you guys are pretty much using? Very good.
yeah,
Now,
and we go ahead.
okay, so it's all, and every one of them is just spread. Now, since it's spread out like that, it's all the same variety. Are you getting a lot of difference with the terroir, the soils? You're getting a lot of differences when you get it back?
Yeah, we get certificates of analysis. And so
Okay.
we look through and say, these are the ones we want. And we're able to pick because they have a conglomerate and we're able to work through
Okay.
one direct source instead of each individual farmer, which would be a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. Oh, it smells so good though. Okay, so if you're only using those 3 types of sherry, you said there's 2 other types of sherry. What are the other 2 you occasionally use?
So the first one I've started to work in a little bit is true Spanish oak. It's Quercus robur.
Okay.
So you can imagine not easy to
Wow.
get these. Even the trees themselves grow incredibly gnarled from the roots all the way up the trunk. So
Okay.
they started off very tannic, and I just didn't think they were going to be a good fit. But over
Okay.
time, they've really started to offer a lot more like chocolate, coffee, leather notes that are really gorgeous with the red fruit that I love. So between that and the PX, you can imagine there's a lot of plum, a decadent fruit. The Oloroso brings in the funky umami.
Ooh.
Yes,
That
I get a lot.
earthiness. Yeah. And then the Fino is the tropical fruit. So this is complex. There is layer after layer after layer. Yeah.
It
I'll
is.
let you take
It's
over.
Root bomb.
It really is, and I can't wait to let this one open up more.
Oh my
this
gosh.
fresh crack on this little bottle. It's probably not. I know it's not doing it justice. So
This
It's
is
like-
fantastic.
mhm.
It's a strawberry tart with some raisins and dates and frosting on top of it. Oh my gosh, that's great.
What's my price point on this one? Last two.
75, I think, for those for each of the individual casks. I think are 75. Or if you want to get that specific type, like I said, Mirage has all of them. So,
all right, well then,
totally. Yeah, that's wow, that's really good. That's damn. Well, Sarah, you might have a replacement there when you needed some sherry cask stuff. I think you have a replacement now. That's really fantastic. Oh, I like all that sherry, because usually you'll get sherry cask, but this is really some. Are they older sherries that you guys are using that you're dumping from? Okay, it's like they must be older because these smell really good.
They feel older overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this a lot because I like the best of both worlds on the Oloroso and the PX, and when you put them both together, you really do get the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You do in this whiskey. Some don't.
Yes, some don't, but this is done.
This is
very well.
Yeah.
You get all that fruit berries that come with that PX, and then that almond waxy funky that comes with the Oloroso. Yeah, it meshes very well.
So Bill wants to know are the butts or puncheons or both, or do you have a consistent supply of them?
They're 500-liter sherry butts, and yes, we have one bodega in Spain that we work with more than any of the others. They are phenomenal, and I'm planning to get there if the world behaves enough this summer or early fall to visit, and they're so great. I'll send emails and they'll answer my questions. And
can we give them a shout out in hopes that people will buy more of their sherry so that they
try their sherry?
Buy the sherry so we can use the casks.
You know what? Yeah, that's probably a better idea. Just buy the sherry, guys. We need the sherry to be purchased.
All the sherry, all of it.
Yes.
Yes,
please.
Sherry the love.
If you haven't tried sherry, I highly recommend buying a Fino.
I know my brother really liked your sherry cask in particular when he was here at Christmas. I know he bought a bottle of the sherry cask. He liked it so much.
Oh, I love it. I'm experimenting with some Amontillado, so we'll see how that turns out.
Nice.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I like that.
I gotta say, YouTube held that comment because he said butts.
Oh, jeez.
We had to prove that comment.
Wow.
Amazing.
Like Scott's comment says, "Take my money, Virginia Distillery." Sounds great.
Oh, I'm actually fearing how much money this stream is going to cost me right now.
No, not for a little while. We just bought a new car, so stop.
I had one stream cost me $750.
No, apparently Dan's drinking the sherry right now. It's even better. Yes, not the cooking sherry. That is for sure. Do not drink that. It would not be a quality concept.
No, he's saying it's fantastic to cook with if you're not into drinking it in general.
Oh, that's true.
It is really
so
wonderful.
You can still buy all the sherry,
and just
even
use
if you're not going to
sauces.
drink it. Just buy it all, okay? Have it for company, whatever.
Are you able to buy these sherries though in the States that you guys are using to try these with, or is that not really that easy to do?
It's much easier to get in Spain, to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's saying we need friends in Spain to send us stuff. Okay.
I'll see what I can do. Right. Yeah.
Oh, it's no big deal, Bill. Trust me, there's way worse things than that. We just have to approve it. It's no big deal.
Yes, Jason, I'm right there with you.
Okay, so Spencer wants to know, just have this a port finish blend. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Are those still being made? The cider and the port finish, are those still made? Yeah. You are still making? Okay, absolutely. So hopefully, Spencer, you can find one then.
Yeah. Again, the whiskey finder on our website is a pretty good resource. Okay. Just go to viadistillery.com, put in your zip code, and see where it's near you. And it might even ship to your house depending on where you are.
Even better.
Right.
I do enjoy the fact that a lot of the new distilleries are able to go down that path. I sure just wish that they could figure out shipping to Texas.
Seriously. Well, no, that's not even all of it. That's like Texas laws too. So
Virginia's got some tough laws as well.
Blue laws suck.
It's true.
Well, I don't know. I think that might be my favorite so far. That sherry.
Did you get Daniel's question up here?
I'm grabbing it there.
Okay.
He wants to know how do you pick a good sherry cask that will make the whiskey you want? That's a really good question.
Yes, that is. So my idea of quality is often tied to complexity. And so being able to check different boxes on the different flavor profiles they're going to bring in makes a really big difference. So we were talking about Oloroso and how that sherry is made without that protective layer of yeast, so it's going to be more oxidized and nutty. So I really like that complexity. I like the umami. So I think that's one checkbox. It's one ingredient to have in my plethora of ingredients to play with. What I really like with the PX sherry casks is they make Pedro Jimenez, which is the name of the grape. They make that style of sherry by taking the grapes, laying them out on mats under the sun, and drying them, which concentrates the sugar. So you can imagine, like, it's decadent. There is 12 times more sugar in an ounce of PX sherry than in Coca-Cola, or more.
Wow.
So,
Okay, I know that.
fruitcake notes, I know that that's checking a box for me.
Okay.
And now I don't want it to be too heavy, and I don't want it to be too umami. So I'm looking, if I can't find it in the casks, the pheno becomes my secret sauce, and I know it's going to bring the tropical, bright light notes in. And I mean, every cask is also going to be unique and its own unicorn. So there's a lot of time going through and doing sensory analysis on each cask and grading to see where it's going to fit in the box. But those 3 styles of sherry really do hit the range that I'm looking for. So I know those are the tools in my toolbox. I'm going to have the building blocks that I need between those 3. Everything else is just gravy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
We got another one here from Eric. Got a lot of good questions here tonight. Eric, thank you. Thoughts on getting special casks? French oak, Mizunara, etc.
Yeah. So Mizunara is one that I'm a fan of in idea. The trees, of course, have to age for 2 centuries before they can.
Right.
Yeah.
The process that goes there is insane. So I have this lovely gentleman. He started out working with us in Portugal. He moved to France, and he said, I can, because he'll talk to me about the different unique casks he can get me, including French oak, which Limousine oak's fun. I don't think anything quite is ideal for aging whiskey is Quercus alba. The porosity, the way that those staves can be shaped to make the perfect cask. Like, there's a reason don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Except sometimes we do. But there's a reason that you probably shouldn't or have as much expectation in place if you're doing your own thing. So that's how I feel about Limousine oak or other French oak. I just think it's very cool and fun to play with, but it's not the bedrock of what I want to focus on. And the same with Mizunara. This wonderful guy, Marco, he was working on getting me 2 Mizunara casks, and he actually sent an email last week and said, hey, these aren't going to pass muster for you. They're going to be leases. They're just not, they're too gnarled and warped for me to do anything with them. So we haven't said no to Mizunara as an experiment for down the road, but I imagine if and when I get them, I'm going to want to age the ASM in it for at least a decade. Knowing
it makes sense. Yeah.
So
Right.
It's going to be interesting if and when, and I don't know that it makes the most sense, but I'm always up for playing and experimenting and do it in a sustainable way. Yes.
Are you saying they didn't have the foresight 200 years ago to start planting Japanese oak for us?
That might be what I'm saying.
Man.
Now,
Seriously.
you guys ever do like any Cabs or Merlots or any other kind of wine finishes at all?
Yeah.
More experiments that are coming, apparently.
I have a shipment coming next week from France, and it has some gorgeous red wines in there.
Awesome. That sounds
What
exciting.
region did you buy from? Do you know what region they came from?
Yes. So we do have some Calvados too, because we were talking about cider before. I will mention some love there, but I would say the majority of what I'm looking at is from the Cognac region and outside it in that perimeter.
So along these same lines of casks and whatnot, it's not for me, but I know there's plenty out there. You ever consider doing a peat cask finish?
Yes. So Angela Moore, our chairwoman, she did procure some peat for me to play around with.
Oh,
So what I don't want to do is have the peat in the barley, because once that's in our mash tun, it would be hard to like cut everything off and keep everything separate. And I don't know that makes sense. There is the Great Dismal Swamp, so I think there is some peat in Virginia, but nobody's harvesting it, and I don't know that makes sense. But what I'm looking at is potentially getting some peat casks that come from distilleries that I'm friends with in Scotland, and so doing a finish or maturation in those casks. And then this one is just a straight up we peat smoked it as just a fun experiment, and it's really good so far. I know.
There you go, all you peat.
I'm very excited.
I know you were talking about or thinking about it. I don't
enjoy
like
a
peat.
sample of that.
Yes,
Okay.
we definitely want to try your peated whiskey and your wine cask.
No
finishes.
offense,
We just want to try all the
offense.
whiskey.
No offense, but I don't.
Hey, there
I
should
don't
be a
drink
flavor
peat.
for everybody.
I'll drink everything else. I just don't like peat. So
American
but-
peat would be a really cool thing, Daniel.
Yeah,
I hope
Daniel,
somebody's
American
trying some of
peat.
that out. and,
There's one distiller that is. We know well.
West Coast, yeah.
Yep.
But
It's not
I
bad.
want more to do it. I think that's neat.
But yeah, I'd like to
moving
try
on
East
to
Coast
the-
one. Would be interesting too to
There you
see
go.
the terroir of peat in the different parts of the U.S. would be cool.
I love it.
Jason
All right.
will buy it
Seriously.
on principle if you make it American peated malt.
Seriously, that's kind of me.
Totally
Too.
agree. Sounds awesome.
Are we moving on to the Cuvee, man?
Yeah, let's move it to the Cuvier cask and tell everybody
This
what
is my
Cuvier is.
Yeah.
Purple.
It's
The
purple.
purple one.
Aubergine.
Pretty purple. Yay.
So, cuvee, what does that even mean? A lot of times people associate it with wine, which is what we were going for. It's the
Right.
premium first run red wine casks from Europe that we're referring to. So, this is a cask story. Jim Swan was working with Cavalon in Taiwan, and they put in a big order for used bourbon casks, and Bayside Cooperage had to it, and it was going to be months before anything was ready. So Jim reached out to my guys in Spain, guys in Portugal, and said, "Let's come up with something." And Marco, who was the one working on the Miznara casks, is the one who worked very closely with Jim. And what they ended up doing was selecting premium red wine casks, shaving the inside staves just about 3 millimeters, toasting with indirect heat, and then blasting with a quick light char.
Ooh.
And then they moved the whiskey in. And so STR, shave, toast, rechar, repair. That's how the STR phrase cut on. And so that's what these casks are. They're all from Europe, held a really premium red wine, and I love them because that process really brings out more wood sugars and re-enlivens a lot of the flavors that we're going for. The congeners are gorgeous. So tons of red fruit, tons of chocolate. This one will open up for days.
Well, and you're shaving down. You're essentially you're removing some of the black layer, the char layer, and you're kind of trying to get yourself closer to the red layer, the layer that the actual wine imparted flavor into the wood, or that interaction happened.
So what was inspiring, I think the whole process was the de-char, rechar that a lot of places were already doing. So different cooperages were already going through that process. What fascinates me is it's called rechar, but technically these casks were never charred to begin with. They had only been toasted.
Hmm.
And so, yeah. So when the time came for me to place my first order on my own, because Jim Swan passed away in 2017 and, we were working with these guys, I said, okay, well, wait, I'm charring at these, what level? And one of the answers was, well, you can do a level 0 char. That's just a heavy toast. I was like, oh, so we have experimented with STR doing as heavy as a level 2 char. Often it's a level 1, but also heavy toast. So I do get some different casks to play around with, which is really exciting and different.
Yeah.
The wine influence on this one again is lovely. Again, the same salinity, that same saltiness is in there as well. None of the funky sulfur notes that you're getting in the sherry casks, but a lot of the same fruit that I typically associate with PX. This is
Right.
more into the red fruits though, instead of into the
Yes.
darker black and blue fruits. Oh, the smell is delicious.
It's a ton of blueberry on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a blueberry
Yeah.
muffin.
I just got that same thing about mid palate
Mhm.
blueberry,
Mm.
and it reminds me of those blueberry cookies that I make.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
They taste like muffin tops.
Also, blueberry cookies with this. That sounds awesome.
They sound real good.
It's
Huh?
the best. It's the best cookie ever.
I need blueberry cookies in my life.
Matt, I think I've given you some at Christmas last year.
I would love some blueberry cookies. We should do
Next time I make them.
the best of blueberry cookies. I think that'd be
Remember
a fun
how
video.
long that thing lasted at Matt's house?
It did not last very long.
That
like
my
20
kid,
minutes.
she gave us this whole plate of cookies. Well, at the end of our stream, my
20
kids had taken the entire plate, eaten all of it. It was completely gone.
I think
What
it
happened
was
to all the cookies? They ate every
gone.
single thing. It's
Matt,
insanity.
next time I find blueberries at a good price, I'll make you some. We call them
Okay.
breakfast cookies because
Grab.
why not?
Oh, yeah. I do want to say hi to our buddy Sam. I guess he knows you from Sanctorum of Spirits. I guess I've seen you before, Amanda. Apparently, I guess he lives out in L.A.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Green. Okay, so let's see. We got see hi to Nick is in here. I know Jerry Black's in here now. See a bunch of new people come in. Oh, I know we had a question here from everyone. Let me grab that one. It's a good question. Where did I see?
Yeah, I like this a lot.
Okay, here it is. So everyone wants to know is, so are these core expressions or are they limited runs that will eventually go away and then we're going to get older maturation over time?
Yeah, they're core range. So it's the
Okay.
flagship and then the 3 signatures. So we internally call them the cornerstones because they make the bedrock of what we're doing. They say on the labels, aged a minimum of 3 years. I can tell you nothing I picked last year was younger than 4 years. So they will get older. I don't know how much, but we do plan on doing some age statements down the road just to kind of
Nice.
celebrate. Yeah, we don't ever want to be harnessed to this commitment to hit it.
Sure.
We want the whiskey to say, and now I'm ready, now I'm at my peak or not. But yeah, it's fun to have those ideas, and we'll be doing some special limited editions as well. So more to come.
Oh, sounds awesome. Yeah, it's great.
I still think I like the sherry the best, but this is really good.
I'm torn. I like them all and with their own respective rights of
Yeah.
why I like them.
Well, the good news is we picked individual casks for Worth the Poor is going to have casks of each one of these at Cask Strength.
Nice.
So we're getting released for Memorial Day for veterans. So this should be very nice. It's a charity for them at Worth the Poor over in the Colony.
I was there today.
Oh, you were there today?
Yeah.
Did you get to try them while you were there?
No, I'm going back on Wednesday.
Okay, nice.
Let me know what you think.
They were good. They were real. I tried all 3 of them. They were really good.
Nice. That's been my favorite thing because we're always looking for casks to see where they fit in. You know, is it going to be a barrel that belongs in our flagship, or is it going to be in the cornerstone, signature, or is this a honey barrel that needs to stand on its own and maybe at cask strength? So all of our single casks have been bottled at cask strength, and it's just so cool to see how balanced they are.
I'd like any of these at Cask Strength.
They're all pretty fantastic at Cask Strength. I assure you.
Well, you know me. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm done with the high proof whore. Hashtag.
It's all good. Like I said, you'll be very happy with what they picked for sure. It'll be a fun day. All right.
I'm even more looking forward to
this one. I know you'll really like, Sarah, because this is the Cuvier Cask Strength. That's the barrage pick. And it comes in at 59.2. This is Cask 1221.
Oh, nice.
I've looked at this one a couple of times and tried to decide if I need to pull the trigger or not. I suppose good night to sit and think.
We were terrified that you could hold the top of it and the bottom would fall off.
Well, yeah. So the first call I started taking this, I'm like, why would it go? Then I realized if there's this huge foam thing in here, guys, to protect your bottle. I'm going, why can't I get it back in? I didn't realize there's like 3 inches of foam in your protection. It's really nice. So, yeah,
is it cool. Just in that one, or is that in all of them?
All of them.
Yeah, it has a cool little thing, and it's just really cool. And then,
they take care of your bottles, okay? Donna wants to know if you can ever use alternative wood for finishing with American single malt like chestnut, mulberry, etc.
There are no laws restricting that. I would be nervous about how tannic those would be for our profile and what we're looking for, but sky's your limit. You could absolutely experiment.
And then we got another question here from Eric. Any noticed difference with evaporation from dunnage style to metal ones, or even that case, if you have some places have wood building or concrete, whatever.
Yeah, with the dunnage style, we have 2 like barn doors that would swing open, and then there would be, now there's like a garage door that goes up too, so it's a double layer protection. But at first it wasn't. It was just 2 barn style doors that would swing open, and the casks in front would have more warping and more evaporation. The ones further back were much more sheltered and didn't have nearly as much evaporation. With the metal-clad cask houses, there are pockets where we have things like thermal banding, more humidity, big variances. I mean, mostly because it's so much larger as well, but also the sun beating down on one side in one location, you're going to see a lot more influence interaction than on the opposite side. So,
right,
a different world.
Right. Everwin wants to know They say, I love long finishes. As a blender, are there ways to ensure long finishes, intentionally trying to create that long finish?
Yes.
Outside of having cask strength, I guess. I mean,
yeah. Alcohol can give the illusion of a long finish for sure, if that's what you're going for. But when it comes to flavor, something that goes hand in hand with it is mouthfeel. And so part of that benefit of doing a very slow reduction is you're fighting saponification. So the whiskey won't become more watery and flabby, and those flavor profiles will stick together because they're long chain fatty acids that you want to have held together. So if you shock it with a bunch of water or don't treat it well, like that would also be a deterrent. So most people don't think about that, but that is a really good tool to be able to take your time, but also getting to know the individual casks. I'm always looking for casks that are going to focus more on the finish too, because I'm looking for aroma, I'm looking for flavor, I'm also looking for mouthfeel, and then I'm thinking what has the complexity and the nuance, and where is it hitting on my palate to contribute. So I actually make notes for the finishing cask that I think, okay, this is going to be what I'm looking for to help make that lingering impression really last and be a good one.
And Matt,
Yes.
is this the one that's 59.2%?
Yes. That's
okay.
it.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to read your handwriting here,
Yes, I
dude,
know.
and
Beautiful.
make sure of what I got. Because I
So-
want to know what is that typically your cask strength pull
In
around that range?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot. It's interesting because again, it's the humidity that is bringing it down from 62.5. Pretty much everything is down to 60 or just about. And there, I found some in the 57, 56.5 range, depending on how much humidity we've had. That's the lowest I've seen from all the Virginia humidity. I like to joke that my hair is usually straight, but then I walk outside and it's, but it's not really a joke. Sometimes you just feel it.
From the mouth of the brother.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that.
That's funny.
Anyway,
Speak and smell.
so one of the cool things I like about these individual casks is it comes with their own little coins here, and it has your cask number on it.
Yeah.
And it actually magnets to the bottle. So yeah, these are really
wow.
nice, high quality, and then it's got that behind it. So it's just a really high. And then if you look at the glass on that thing,
That's
like
thick.
an inch of glass on there. It
That's
protects
like
the bottle
you can
quite well.
beat somebody with that and
Yeah.
still have
It
the
won't crack.
intact bottle. So, Matt, I got to ask, this was at Mirage?
Yes.
Yes. How much was this?
It's like 125, something like that.
That's not bad.
Okay.
I like
Well,
this one a lot.
we helped pick this with Amanda when she was there.
Yes. That was
So-
literally when I got off the plane. I had a blast.
It was fun. You're like, yeah, I get to go to the liquor store and pick stuff without even eating. This is going to be amazing.
I'm used to it.
Oh, I can only imagine. They just whisk you around wherever you end up at, sure.
I like this one a lot, not just the proof, because yes, I love the proof. I can still feel it. And it's been a minute, but it's got a nuttiness to it along with the fruitiness that I didn't get in the other, and it just stands out a whole lot more. I really enjoy this, which is why we might need to have a discussion later.
Mhm.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Yeah.
How much is this going to cost me?
This is not how
Well,
it
this
all
is what
started
happens.
out.
We get really amazing brands on that make really amazing products, and then you get to spend a lot of money on them afterward. We always said in our show, this show will not save you money, but you will get to drink really awesome whiskey. So that you got that going for you.
Yeah, meeting you has been the biggest expense of my life.
Matt.
Probably true.
But I'm happy with it. I'm happy with this, but I'm just saying.
Not necessarily meeting Matt, meeting a bunch of other distillers and distilleries and
Yeah, but all of that stemmed from
Matt.
that guy
Jason, but you just
That guy.
bought a car.
right there.
I can go to the liquor store and pick it up in my new car.
Exactly. See, you got a bigger trunk to put more whiskey in the back. It's
Oh,
perfect.
dude, no,
We got
don't
such a
say
bigger
that.
trunk.
The trunk is so much bigger. Oh. Hey, I know who's going to be hauling the bottles down to
Like,
Austin this
Austin
year.
Well, there you go. Well, that's true, Scott. Right. Awesome Shuck
No,
isn't
pinch
cheap.
hitter. It's not going to be as much as the Glendalough string.
No,
No,
that
that was
Glendalough
very,
stream
yeah.
was like almost a mortgage payment.
Mhm.
Jeez, that hurt. But
She
yay,
fell in love.
stimulus. That's
she fell
what that...
in love with everything. It was craziness.
Come on, tax return. No, that went to the car. Daniel, we got a 2020 Nissan Rogue is what is coming. We got it from Carvana.
They're going to
So-
deliver
There
it
you
to us because I didn't want to go to a dealership and spend a day at a dealership.
Yeah, but do you get to watch it go down the little spinny like gumball machine looking thing for cars?
I could
I could if I wanted to drive to Frisco and pick it up.
Oh no, that's too much
but
work.
instead they're going to bring it to me, and that's fine.
I
too.
prefer that plan. That's a way better plan.
Much rather than bring it to me. Yes.
Oh, that's too funny.
So, yeah, we're kind of excited about that.
Definitely.
All the more room for the whiskey.
I'm excited about this one. This is
I am too. I really like it a lot.
Beautiful whiskey. A perfect way to end the night. Your entire line is absolutely delicious. I can tell you that the people that I don't know who your distributor is or if they're playing a key role in this, but you are already in a lot of stores down here.
That's awesome.
They're picking you up all over the place, which is really awesome for you. I'm really happy for you in that regard.
Thank you.
Because it's wonderful juice. It's very, very good, and I'm really happy that you guys are making this yummy stuff.
Yeah, you can thank Mark for all his hard work around here getting it in places for sure. Yeah, Mark is their national guy. He happens to live in Bedford, so we've been lucky enough to hang out with Mark a few times, and he's a really awesome guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Well, I love Texas, so it means a lot to have American Single Malt represented so well, not only by us, but Balcones. And yeah, just thank you for sharing the love. It means a lot.
Balcones and Illusia.
I assume you're part of the Texas, or not Texas, part of the American Single Malt Association. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, we're founding members. Our CEO Gareth is the secretary. So, but man, shout out to the guys at Westland. They have been fighting the good fight. And lots of love for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
And we thank them
we know
for
a
that
lot
fight.
of distillers that are fighting that fight and trying to make sure that we get regulations passed and laws put around what American single malt is.
Yes.
Because we don't want people just slapping that name on things because there's not regulations behind it.
Here. Yes.
So you could call a bourbon that right now, and that's scary thoughts.
Right.
I don't like that. So
I like all those whiskeys, but the best question is, what do they taste like combined? I'm gonna find out.
I don't know. We haven't put the last one in.
Put a little bit of that one in. I'm not pouring mine
I
in
have
there.
to combine.
I don't blame you.
I only poured one of mine, a little
Because
bit left.
especially we're gonna have a
I
head
drank
blender
all
on.
my samples
We should
tonight.
blend.
Yes. This is fun.
Only seems fair. Plus, we love blending anyway. I know we've had some distillers or blenders on, and they're like, "You blended my whiskeys? Why would you do that?" I'm like, "Because that's half the
Because
fun."
experiments.
We've never had anyone ever do that ever when we've been on.
It's science from beginning to end. Let us continue to science.
I'm gonna give a little shout out to all the distillers that ever come on. I put Ardbeg in all of your whiskeys.
Ardbeg, or when you have Compass Box.
Compass Box, Port Charlotte. I'm gonna pour some peat in all of your whiskeys, all of them. If it's a bourbon, if it's a rye, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna pour some peat.
You could just use a glass that you'd had a peated whiskey before.
No.
A peated rinse that way.
No. Get some in there.
All right. So everyone wants to know: do you think the whiskey boom and the big price hikes will continue for a while?
I hope not.
I mean, I love the whiskey boom,
yes.
obviously.
Price, no.
But the prices, it's hard because you see so many factors that you can't control. And so, the casks are not cheap. Barley is not cheap. The gas for transportation is not cheap.
That's for sure.
Glasses, everything is just. So we want to try to mitigate the costs and only pass on to the consumer what we have to, which is a challenge. So I don't know what the future holds. I really don't, but I just see a lot more education happening around whiskey in the different categories. So I do predict, I think there's a lot of increased interest, and I think international styles of whiskey. And I think American Single Malt is like the perfect way to get into that, just because it gives you such a great sense of place. I think that'll do well.
Do y'all distribute up to Canada?
Not at this time. I have some friends up there who have distilleries, and we've done some barrel cask swaps. So some bottle
I
swaps.
ask. I messaged my counterpart for whiskey and lipstick, our ladies' night, if they get it up there.
I figured I'd just ask you though.
We'd love to have you on a ladies' night one night
I
because
would love
that's
that.
ladies only on our stream, and we love talking to women who are in your position, and especially and getting there and dealing with a man's worlds and moving your way up from the whiskey world. So we'll talk more about that after the stream here.
But we can talk more about Eric's question real quick.
Yes.
What's your
any thoughts on doing a chocolate malt whiskey by chance?
Shut your face.
I mean, we love barley, so getting to play with different styles of barley is always fun. I don't see chocolate malt being something we really play around with too much. For our flavor profile, I think we like what we're getting right now, but I'll never say never. And if we do, I think it would be a small experimental run first to see how it goes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Should you guys ever do anything different with the barley, or just only the one thing, and or ever doing experiments with it at all, or change it up to do things and different toast levels of the barley itself?
There's some things that we just know work really well.
Okay.
So for example, the milling ratio, 70% middles, 20% husk, 10% flour. There are some things in bedrock for a reason, and we might, veer a tiny little bit and go, nope, that doesn't make sense. When we were getting started, our biggest experiment was more with the yeast. We played with a couple different strains, seeing what flavors we could develop, what congeners would happen. For the barley itself, I think the biggest changes have been strike temperatures. And when we were learning, in Scotland, they would often do 3 waters, at least traditionally, to extract as much sugar as possible. So one of the big revelations was a lot of places don't still do that. And so we went from 3 just to 2 waters. And that's the biggest change from the past, 6 years. For the most part, we've figured out what we want to do and stuck pretty true to it. So yeah.
Let's see. We got another couple questions here. Okay, everyone, he wants to know says the pandemic demand for brown spirits has been through the roof. So how does Virginia Distilling Company figure how much to barrel, because you're making bottles for 4 to 5 years from now?
Yes. That is something I think about every day, and it does occasionally keep me up at night because the demand is growing so fast, and I want to make sure that we always have room to grow and that there's whiskey there. And the hardest thing is, if we want to make a new product, I need years to develop it and check and see how the different casks are going to perform. So depending on how different we want to go, it takes years and years. So then having enough aged up, that's even harder. So it's a big question. And I think the scale of what we're doing, that's part of why we've gone from 1 shift to 2 shifts a day and are talking about 3 shifts to be able to have that capacity, because it takes 5 to 6 days to do an entire run, because there's the milling part, there's the mashing, which takes 6+ hours, and then 3 days minimum of fermentation. We do 72 hours, and then we double distill, and then we fill the cask. So all that time, from 2 tons of barley going through the whole process, we only get about 5 or 6 casks filled.
Wow.
We do very narrow cuts. I know. So you can imagine that's why we're going, 5 days a week. So many times we're trying to age up enough so whatever the demand is, we'll have the whiskey there. So we're doing our best. Fingers crossed that will continue.
Yeah.
Able to meet all the needs.
Any last minute questions, go ahead and throw them in. We're going to be heading in for a landing here pretty soon.
Okay, so what is the oldest whiskey you guys have on hand?
Is that what that question is? I was wondering if he was asking us, if he was asking me what's the oldest I've had, or if he was asking them.
I think he's asking her what's the oldest they have.
Okay.
We can answer both questions. The oldest casks I have now were filled the first week, I believe, of November 2015.
Wow.
So,
nice.
Those are the oldest that I'm still sitting on, and they taste really good. I don't want to ever get to the point where it's over oaked, so we'll just keep monitoring. But yeah.
Okay.
Do you still have any of the casks that you bought over from Scotland?
So what comes over from Scotland comes in blue drums. They go ahead and take them out of the casks for us, and yes, so we get an order.
Part of that process, or still doing that as well?
Yeah. About twice a year, we'll get some of the distilled over, and it's still roughly 50% in the VHW line. I've gotten some as low as 30% there, 70% ours. Just depends from batch to batch. So if it's more phenolic, it has more notes, then I want to balance it out with, the right proportion.
Yeah. Nice.
I like Gregor's time for a dram. He says, just don't do what they do with Springbank. Shut down and go work for Glenkyle, kill Karen for the day. It's true. Well, I don't have a whiskey region anymore. So kind of important.
Yeah.
So, but that's pretty funny. All right. Well, this was
Amanda,
amazing.
it's been wonderful having this conversation with you and getting to know all the wonderful things that are coming out of Virginia Distilling. I'm happy and going to be a bit poorer from this live stream, and I appreciate you for it. I really do.
The good news is I also sold a ton of whiskey tonight, so that's the other important thing. And so anybody that hasn't tried it, it's definitely worth. Every one of these are really good and worth picking up. Just kind of fits your profile. Best suggestion, just pick them up all. That solves the problem for you. Then you'll know.
Yep. If you can find one of these store picks, I can't say enough good things about it.
Thank
Cask
you.
Strength.
Yeah. That's just
Strength. That's all you need to know. It's Cask Strength.
All you need to know.
It is delicious.
From my mouth to your ears.
Matt,
That's
what do
all
we
you
got
need to
coming
know.
out tomorrow?
Let's see. Tomorrow we've got the Teeling Single Grain coming out tomorrow. Another great, several Irish things for you. Being obviously March and St. Patty's Day, we've got a yellow spot coming out for St. Patty's Day for you guys, and the Bailey's Almond is the liqueur for the week. Another lovely thing from Ireland. So that's coming out this week.
Awesome.
Yes, it's very good stuff.
I did not.
If there's any other questions, we'd happily answer them. Otherwise, we will sign off for next week and see if we can get anything else. Remember, just got a couple minutes here left. Eric wants to know: do you ever go into the tails in your cuts at all?
No, but what's interesting is we take our heads and tails and we save them in our low wines and faints receiver, and we redistill them. So there's no waste. I love how green our process is. So we're able to save everything. Our spent grain goes to local farmers. Our pot ales, the 2/3 left behind in the spirit still, or the wash still, my bad, goes as fertilizer to local farmers as well. So it's just really nice to have that green aspect. So yeah, tails just redistill them.
Well, I said those are the best fed cattle and best fed land. Anything that's fed by whiskey.
Seriously.
Mhm.
It's like, I want to be those cattle. That sounds awesome.
Well, they only get fed that for the last couple of months of their life, Matt. So
Cohen wants to know if you are allowed to tell us whose whiskey in Scotland you're buying.
No, we want people to focus more on what we're doing. And if we decide to switch distilleries down the road, we don't want to be harnessed to that. So I will say you're safe to bet it's in the Speyside or Highland regions.
Makes sense.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, unless you go rogue and get some peated, whatever, it could happen.
It could happen. You never know.
We're not opposed. It's all
Never
good.
say never.
No, not
Never
opposed to
say
repeated
never.
line for sure. Especially if it's going to be like your blended series, so it's not going to end up in your going through your stills. You don't have to worry about anything
Never.
dumping anything up on you. So
Exactly.
that would always be fun. But yeah, this is. Do you have any ideas to
good.
do some more combinations with other Scotch distillers and just in general? Any others coming to line, or this is kind of what's going to be here for now, and just that's what's going to be for now?
Yeah, the last big project that was fun to contribute to was it was 7 American Single Malt Distilleries got together, and we did an American vatted malt with Lost Lantern. So that was
Nice.
fun. Yeah, with Balcones, and that won World Whiskey Awards, best in category.
That is it. That's
yeah.
I need
Yeah.
to find that. That sounds awesome.
It was really great. So that was a fun project. I think I'm more focused on the different casks I can get and new projects I'll be doing under the Courage and Conviction label.
Oh, makes sense. We got one last super chat here from Eric.
Stupid.
Said I had a great time showing here. Great folks. Cheers. Well, thanks, Eric. We appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Eric. Thanks for hanging out.
All right. Let's see.
All right.
Oh, so I guess Jason tried that one. Oh, excellent. So it was pretty solid. Oh, that's good to know. All right. Well, thank you everybody much. Amanda, this has been a fantastic evening, and we'll see everybody next week. Cheers, everyone.
Don't go anywhere, Amanda. Cheers. Are you going to hit the button? You got
I
it?
am.